Okay, press this button. All right, we're live. Thank you everyone for joining our live. We're going to talk about travel today. We're going to talk about different ways of traveling. We're going to talk about traveling by plane, train, automobile, bicycle, any way people travel. I have traveled all different ways, so I can definitely talk about many different ways of traveling. And so anyway, we have Murad and myself. So we'll have a conversation. We might have some others that are going to join us, but if you have questions in the chat, you can put them there. And so anyway, I know Murad, you said you don't really like to travel by plane. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
First of all, thank you so much, Rochelle, for giving me this third opportunity. I'm so blessed to see you again and to talk about different subjects. So yes, as I told you before, I have, some fears of traveling by air or, getting on airplanes. I don't know, it started like 6 years ago. Actually, one incident happened to me during traveling from one city to another. And there were like an air bumps where, the airplane started to get shaky. And that, got me confused and panic a little bit. I couldn't forget, these moments because I was talking to, to the plane team that, okay, is it normal to happen? So they didn't give me like a clear, answers. So I started, to have these type of fears of traveling by airplanes. Actually, sometimes I'm canceling, a lot of business trip, a lot of just because my fears of traveling by air. I will do my best, to take any other facilities travel, not just to avoid, being traveled by air. So my last air, traveling by air, it was from Saudi Arabia to Turkey, and that was around 4 years ago. And during my travel, my stay in the other city or the other country, Turkey, I was every day thinking how I'm gonna make it to return back. I have to travel for 4 hours to return back to Saudi Arabia, and it will be, very hard 4 hours for me. I don't know, I'm a little bit exaggerated, I'm thinking, but I'm trying to handle this, personally and to deal with it. That, okay, what's gonna happen to you in the land could happen to you in the air. So you should be more, capable to tolerate these or to control this fears. So this is it, as I told you, my last travel by air was 4 years ago, and since then I didn't, travel to anywhere. I'm shocked.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I'm not a fan of traveling by air, but I do like to look out the window. I like to take a lot of pictures. I like to have a window seat, but I'm not a super fan. It's more like the uncomfortableness because, of course, when I travel, I buy the cheapest seats on the plane. So it's really tight and uncomfortable. So that's the part that I don't like. But I think what I like the least is going through all the security checkpoints. Starting about, well, exactly 12 years ago, I was actually pregnant with my daughter. I was in line. We were going to Disney World with my son, and I got pulled because I don't know if it was because I had all these baggy pants with lots of pockets or what the reason was, but they were checking everything, and and then since then, every single time I go, I get pulled out and they want to check something and they're putting the wands over me, and I'm just so now it's more of an anxiety of going through security than the anxiety to actually go on the plane. But that once I get through security, I'm fine. But I keep it very simple now. I make sure I'm wearing the most simplest flip-flop shoes that you can easily take off. I try to pack very simple and not have too much on, so that way it's very easy to get through the security. And I know it's important. I know the security is important, but I that's the part that I like the least. And then the second least would be the very uncomfortable seats, because I just don't want to spend the extra money, the extra money on a more expensive seat, like, you know, what it'd be double or triple or whatever it is, I figure, well, that's more money I can spend when I get there. And I'm like, I'll just suffer through being uncomfortable during the flight, so I can have extra money and maybe go out to eat, and or maybe whatever it is, maybe we do some extra things when we're there. So I would rather not spend the crazy money for the business class or first class seats. So I'm always buying the cheapest seats on the plane. And when I've ever traveled for work, no place that has ever sent me business class. I've never sat there because, like, I never work for companies that have a lot of money. So I'm always sitting in the cheap seats. In fact, last time I wanted the window seat, right? And apparently it cost $30 more. My coworker, he decided to check his bag. That cost $30. So I was actually kind of like, my boss was like, what's this extra $30 charge? And I said, oh, I guess that's because I sat in the window seat. And she's like, oh, you can't do that. You have to be mindful. Like, you know, we're like a nonprofit. I'm like, well, Joe, he checked his bag. Like, I carried my bag and I brought it on the plane, but Joe checked his bag. I'm like, nope. Apparently it's okay to check your bag, but you can't pick your seat. So I'll thank you, Liz Melly. We just got started and we're just talking about travel, whether it's by plane or by train or automobile or however you traveled. So I was just kind of talking about, Murad first talked about how he doesn't really like to go by plane anymore. And for me, I was just saying the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of going by plane. I do love looking out the window. I got great pictures of like the Grand Canyon or like Boston Harbor and stuff like that. I love the window seat, but I'm not a fan of being cramped in the small seats, and I'm not a fan of going through security because I don't know why, but I must look like somebody they want to pull out and, you know, put those metal wands on and keep on, you know, checking me for whatever the reason. So, but thank you for joining.
Hi, Rachel. Good morning from here. And good evening, I think, Murat, for you.
Good evening.
Well, Rachel, thank you for inviting me to this meeting. Talking to that kind of transport, I've never used train. Never. I've never traveled by train, but I've traveled by plane and by bus. Some times ago, I think 2 years ago, I traveled to Colombia by bus. It took me about 2 days to reach Medellin in Colombia. And is really tired, but it's interesting because I could see many things that if I could have taken the plane, maybe I couldn't enjoy many things like a wonderful view and interesting town. And so it's good. I think it's really good travel by bus because you can enjoy the view in many sense. But sometimes it's really tired because it depends of the distance. Here, many people from Venezuela used to travel by bus from Venezuela to Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, Chile, and it takes 4 or 5 days depending on the country. And I think maybe in this case they enjoy a lot, but it's too tired as well.
I traveled by bus when I was in college. So I live in Massachusetts and my best friend lived in Michigan, and I have traveled by bus to Michigan. And I just need to take care of something real quick. So my experience traveling by bus has been different. Like the traveling to Michigan was not good. It took like over 24 hours. There was stops. It was very uncomfortable. Maybe it was pretty, like you say, you can see more views along the way, but I've also driven to Michigan and been able to see the same views. My experience traveling by bus was it stopped and started, and I got stuck in like Pittsburgh in the middle of the night in like not an area that you want to be stuck while I was waiting for another bus. I didn't realize that the low price of the ticket was going to mean that, you know, that it was going to be such a long trip. But I've also traveled in Mexico, actually. I went to Mexico a couple years ago, and I flew into Acapulco because I was visiting a friend, and she lived in Acapulco, and then we were going to go with her family to Mexico City, but my plane ticket was out of Acapulco, and they were going to charge me more money to change it, to leave from Mexico City. So the family said, no, you can't pay $200 more. They absolutely insisted that I should not do that, but instead I should travel through the night by bus back to Acapulco, which was a long bus ride. But that bus ride was very luxurious. It was like this really nice, like they gave you like a little meal. They gave you like an eye thing, a pillow. You had like this really big space. It was like a really luxurious bus. So only thing is I couldn't see anything because it was night, so I couldn't see the beautiful landscapes. But that experience by bus was nice, while my experience traveling when I was in college was awful. And I have traveled by train. I traveled to Michigan again by train, both when I was in college to visit my best friend and when my son had robotics. We went by train because if we went by plane, we could only bring so much. And for robotics, we got to bring all these tools and all these parts, right, with us. So we could each bring like 3 huge suitcases, right, with all the tools that we wanted onto the train. Again, 24 hours, but it's more comfortable than on a plane because you got way more room. You have like, you can recline the seats and almost lie down, and you can get up, and there is like a one of the carriages or one of the train carts is a diner cart, right? So you can go and they have a waiter that comes and you can order like some pancakes and eggs or whatever. So that's kind of fun. And the views were beautiful as well. Welcome, Fatima. We're talking about traveling. Any way that you traveled, whether you traveled by plane or train or automobile. I was telling Murad earlier, I chose for the back of the picture for the YouTube one of my favorite movies. It's with John Candy and Steve Martin, and it's called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And it's all about the story of them trying to get back for the holidays, and the plane gets grounded, I think, because of a huge snowstorm, and then they get on a train and they get on a bus, and it's a whole adventure for them to get home. So I like that, like trains, planes, and automobiles. So if you want to tell any story of how you traveled or what kinds of travel you might want to do in the future, so I'm not sure, but we're just talking about travel in general, whether it's for work or for pleasure. If you have some stories that you got stuck at an airport, which I have many of those.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me here, Rachel, and nice to see all of you guys, Murad brother and Lusmeli. So hope you all are yes, hi. So you were talking about traveling. So I would like to talk about my country's travel, that how people do travel in our country, and we do regularly. So definitely those who have private car, they do travel by the private car, but those people have no private car, they generally go to their work or their school by a local car. So those transportations, like a name is, one is famous, which is CNG, another is rickshaw, and another is bus. Those are very famous in our country, but also in our area, though, where I am living currently. A train is not much famous here. So people use basically those things, those I mentioned. I have a story that I
Oh,
went a long
real quick,
journey.
I want to hear your story. I want to just show people what the rickshaws look like. So I'm just going
Okay,
to share
I
screen
can.
so people can see
Oh,
what they are.
yeah.
So, like you were talking about the different rickshaws. So, anyway,
Mhm.
that's what that looks like. And then continue with your story.
Yes, those are rickshaw. Quickly, if you want to go somewhere else, then you can use those kind of rickshaw. Those will take you quickly and quick path. So basically, people use those things because it is very cheap rate. People can use, and it is a quick transportation also. But CNG, if you search, then you can see CNG. Also, I can see you what is CNG.
Can you spell that for me?
CNG, just
CNG.
yes.
All right, I will get that and I will show everybody what that looks like. Um, let's do that.
Okay.
And continue. I'm just going to step away to
Yeah.
stop the mic wave.
Yeah.
Go, continue
So
talking.
yeah, definitely. So those are CNG. This color are green, and those you can see available in our road. In Bangladesh road, you can see this kind of CNG, because we don't have taxi like Indian people use taxi, but we use this one. Another is a bus. Bus, you know very well, everyone, because every country's people use bus. Mm, so bus is also famous because people bus can carry a lot of peoples together
Mhm.
once. So if you want to go somewhere long distance, so you can if you have no enough money, if you have reasonable money, so you cannot afford, in this case you can use bus. So just for middle class people, they use bus in our country. And the private car, definitely people use those are millionaire, those have a lot of monies. I went to Dhaka, in our capital, by car. It was long distance. It takes 5 hours. Sylhet to Dhaka, it takes 5 hours. I am living in Sylhet, northern side of Bangladesh, and Dhaka is situated east side, west side of Bangladesh. So it takes 5 hours that I went there with my parents. Basically, I went there to receive my sister. She was coming from America, and I went to airport. So that was a long journey in my life. But I didn't go there by train. I didn't go there by plane because it's very highest price. Our family cannot afford it. So we went there by private car. It is that we can pay for it. So the
Oh,
story was that we were in traffic jam, because traffic jam is a very bad problems in our country, especially in Dhaka, not in Sylhet. In our area, traffic problems are not available. You can get good air, you can get good uh, trans- uh, transportation systems everywhere. Everything is free. People are living their life very peacefully. But Dhaka is capital of our country, so that is why it was very busy place, and I faced the problem because that was my first time that I went there, and I feel headache because of people's noisy and a lot of traffic problems. Whenever we are stuck in traffic problems, so then that moment we face a lot of problem. And here in our country, the problem is are available, won't stop to if I start to talk about the problem. Anyway, the one more thing I would like to talk about, that traveling in our country, we have tourist attraction in our country. So many time I have seen that different countries peoples, like Western countries peoples, and those are living in China, Japan, those peoples are also coming in our country to enjoy the natural beauties and natural attraction. Because everywhere you will find out natural attraction in our country, especially in our area, it is fully covered with nature, like three hills. um, Tree Hill is a famous in our area. So people travel here a lot. So I think I don't need to go anywhere else in our country because the already we have tourist attractions where I'm living. So people visit in my area. So I don't need to go anywhere else for visiting. But in future, I want to go in America for my further study. So I want to go by plane. Obviously, it's my dream that I want to fulfill it. So still, I am doing my doing undergrad. I'm in undergraduate. I'm doing my graduation. So after completing my graduation, I will apply for my post graduation in American University. If they agree, if they allow me, then I will go there.
I'm hoping that
But
Rochelle will help you in this one.
I might be able to help you. I do work with students with their college applications, not as much with international students, but I'm happy to help in any way possible and help you research colleges, scholarship opportunities, and all that for sure. I'd love to see you come here and study.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's my dream that otherwise I don't want to go anywhere else beside my for my study purpose because my sister living there. So definitely I wish that I will live with my sister and I will do my study with there with them
And
because
she
my
lives in
parents are also going there very soon. So why I will go anywhere else rather than America?
she lives in South Carolina?
No, she is living in
No,
Brooklyn.
you told me Buffalo, New York.
No, Buffalo, my cousin living, and
Oh,
my sister living in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, New
Yeah.
York. I was right about the state. The second time,
Yeah.
not the first time. I don't know why I thought South Carolina. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Well,
that is my dream. One more thing is that I want to travel in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia because I want to do Hajj purpose. I want to go there with my parents. My parents are always pray that they wanna go in Saudi Arabia for Hajj. So if Allah wish, definitely I will go there once in my life.
My God, achieve your dreams and to come Saudi to perform Hajj and to do all your things, that you want to do.
Thank you, Murad brother. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
thank you. For me, I'm hoping my next big trip will be to Spain. Isabella's promised to show me around Spain. But this coming summer, I might be going to Washington, D.C. by plane because for work, I might be presenting for work on the YouTube camp that I ran last summer. So I'd be flying down to Washington, D.C. Now, Washington, D.C. is drivable. It's a 9-hour drive from here, but I'm not going to drive. I'm going to take a plane. And to obviously go to Spain, I'll take a plane because there's no other way, really, unless I get on a barge, ship or something, right? So that will be my plan. Spain maybe next year, and this summer for sure for work will be Washington, D.C. I might fly out to Michigan. My best friend lives in Michigan, and I'm done with driving to Michigan. I'll tell you, I've driven there at least 4 or 5 times. It's 16 hours if you drive over the Great Lakes and 20 hours if you drive under the Great Lakes. So over the Great Lakes requires you to drive through Canada, which when I was driving there in college, I could just go to the Canadian border and they would say, where were you born? United States, what are you doing? I'm driving through to Michigan. Okay, go ahead. That's it. But now you have to have a passport and all that. So can't really do that until I get a new passport. But I don't really want to drive because if I take a plane, it's just 2 hours to get to Michigan instead of 16.
Yes, it's a huge difference, I think. And this is one of the things, that everyone should take, airplanes. It can, give you the opportunity to save time.
Yeah.
For example, my last travel by land was to Mecca, the place or the city that Fatima wished to go to. So I decided to drive to Mecca from the capital city, which is Riyadh, capital city of Saudi Arabia. So it took me around 12 hours, to reach Mecca. And if I just decided to travel by air, it only would take me one hour. So saving time is one of the things that can be considered during taking a decision while you are traveling by air or by land. Definitely, I won't do it again. I won't travel by land, driving to through a lot of problems in the road, and anything could happen to you. So this is one of the things that's why traveling by air is more comfortable. It's just to save more time and to recap your any problem that could happen to you by land. So this is one of the
Yeah, that's true, brother. You said very well. But when it comes to question that about money, definitely here in our country, people prefer to go by a car rather than plane because it's really highest price that everyone cannot afford it.
yeah,
But
sure, definitely. It
yeah,
should be considered. The financial
yeah.
burdens should be considered as well. As you say, some people they cannot afford buying a
Hmm.
ticket or traveling by air, so they should go by their own cars. Better for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think here, like sometimes it can be cheaper to go by plane. I think the time that it might be cheaper is if you're like your whole family goes. Like, say if I was to bring my kids to Michigan, if we're going to go for at least 3 or 4 of us going to go, it might be cheaper to go by car. But if it's just one person, for sure, it's it's going to be probably the same for me because the gas price, and then we have tolls. I don't know if you have tolls there, but we have tolls. So if I go on certain roads, I have to pay a toll. Now it's all electronic. You used to have to stop and hand your money and get a ticket, but now it's electronic. You have this little like thing that you have in your car that there's these things that send a signal, and then it just bills my bank account, right? But yeah, it's electronic. But in the old days, like when I was in college and I was driving to Michigan, I would stop the car and I would have to have some money with me, and I've got a ticket first, and I would get on the toll road, and then I would drive like 4 or 5 hours, and when I got off the toll road, then I would give them the ticket, and they would tell me how much I would have to pay. There still are some places in the U.S. where they're actually taking money, and they have a person taking the money, but most of the states have gone electronic for that. And the reason that they do that, I guess, is to collect money to pay for those roads to be repaired.
Yeah.
Do any of you have toll
Well,
roads?
Actually, go ahead.
Oh,
Madam
do
Ali.
Smiley first and then Murad.
Yes, here in Venezuela, many people like to travel by car to different part of the country. It's very, very common, but nowadays it's less than before because we have problems with the gasoline, and so many that people try to travel by bus because they avoid to stay in line to get gasoline for long hours. So they prefer, well, now it's better travel by bus. And some of them that have the option to travel by car, they store gasoline during the to use it during their trip, but it's very common here. People like to enjoy the landscape because they think, well, I have my own car and I can stop wherever I want, and I can enjoy places, and is our traditional here. But well, I think in this moment we have to avoid do that because of that problem problem of gas, and it's better and it's cheaper now. Travel by bus, take a bus is better in this moment because of the situation.
Yeah, I definitely, I would think I've heard a lot of, although Venezuela is this big producer, or you have all this like oil there, right? But there's like a problem with, I guess, all of the production of making it into gasoline right now, because I know that your country is still very rich in oil. Like I said, I had traveled by bus. I have actually, and I want to get back to Murad because I think he was going to join. He was going to say something last, but I did travel also. I wanted to add that I traveled in Costa Rica, and it was the cheapest way to go, and I could travel these 9-hour trips, and this was like more than 25 years ago. I could travel for like $4. I went there to spend 3 weeks, and I didn't have much money, so I did that. I traveled by bus. It was $4, and I went to go see the volcanoes. I forget what the city was, but it was $4 that I spent each way. So but it was super long, and the roads weren't great, but it was the cheapest way to go. I know, Murad, you were going to say something earlier.
Yes, you were talking about, enjoying your travel by land, just to see, the views, you can enjoy the beauty of nature during your travel. I guess, America and South America.
I think you're freezing up. So hopefully your internet improves.
Okay. So in this case, I want to talk and I want
Go
to
ahead.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
We are talking about traveling. So my question to you that where would you recommend a foreigner to visit in your country?
Okay, when would I recommend? I mean, summer, like spring, summer, or fall. Winter, not so much. It depends where you're going to. But definitely, if you were going to go visit your sister in Buffalo, it's really cold, a lot of snow in Buffalo. So it's not the place, especially where I believe your country is very warm. So it would be a real shock. I know people that live here where I live, from Colombia and from other countries, that are very warm, and it's really hard for them to deal with the winters here. So I would not recommend, if you are from a very warm country, to come up north in the United States in the winter. Summer would probably be good for you because you're used to it, right? So if you go to Florida, or if you go to any place where it's really hot, you're already used to that heat. But I would definitely avoid the northern states in the winter. Although if you are going to come to school and live with your sister, you're not going to be able to avoid that because you'll have to be here for all year long. So you have to get used to it.
Okay, thank you.
But if you're just going to visit Buffalo in the summer. It's like Buffalo, where your sister lives, is close to Niagara Falls. You can go see Niagara Falls. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I heard about it.
Yeah. So you can definitely, I think it's because that's like when you say Buffalo, when I drove to Michigan, I drove through Buffalo because I would drive through Massachusetts and drive all the way through upstate New York. And then I would drive through the Canadian border through Canada over the Great Lakes, and then drive, there's a bridge that is from Canada that goes to Detroit, Michigan. So that's the way I would go. And Buffalo was one of those cities that I passed on the way to Canada.
So thank you so much, Rachel, for your wonderful recommendation. So I would like to go in Lusmeli, that what you will recommend for us. If we like to visit in your country, then what you will recommend for us?
You can come to Venezuela wherever you want. The whole day is we have a good weather, because
Whole
you know
year?
that
Really?
yes, because it's we have some almost every day, even in during the winter. We have a good weather because, for example, it can rain in the morning, and then in the afternoon you can see the sun shining in the
Wow.
sky. So, well, we always have a good weather, always, all the time. So you can
Always.
come
Then
wherever you want.
Rachel and anyone can visit in your country anytime, no problems. For Western people especially.
Yes, that's right. And here we have a lot of beaches, beaches. We have deserts, we have mountains, rivers, lakes. So, well, here is we have diversity places to visit.
Wow. Here in our area also we have mountain. Not big, but it's hills. It's called hills, not mountain, maybe. So we have also this one. Anyway, Julio. Hello, Julio. Can you hear us?
I think he's muted.
It's
Unmute.
mute.
That we can listen to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Are you out and about? It seems like you might not have the best internet. Is this Julio?
I
Julio?
think he is working right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we are talking about, you just joined, we are talking about travel, whether it be by plane, train, automobile, bus, and so on. So you have sound. Thank you for joining.
Oh, it's finished?
Sounds like, and where are you? Sound like a little bit loud, but how are you doing today? Sounds like you're almost in an airport. It's so loud where you're at.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, it's very loud where you're at.
Are you talking with me, teacher?
Yeah, I can't really hear you too well because I'm not sure where you are, but it sounds like you're in a really loud place.
Yeah, you're right. In fact, I'm working right now. I'm on the street.
Oh, you're on the street. Okay.
But I'm listening to you. Okay.
Okay. You can.
You are
Yeah.
talking about traveling by car or by plane, right?
Yes, plane, train, anyway. If you want to share.
Yeah,
Here
and
now.
listen, I think there is no comparison to go by plane or to go by car, because if you go by car, you can stop whatever you want and take picture, you can buy souvenir, whatever you want. As a matter of fact, you can eat traditional food if you go to some place, But if you go by, by plane, you can do nothing. Absolutely nothing. There is no, there is no way, there is no comparison to go by plane or by car. I prefer go by car. Absolutely.
I guess it depends where you're going, because if you want to go somewhere and get there, like say I want to go to Peru, right? I'm going to get there and then I'm going to try all those street foods and stuff. But I think it depends. I've gone on some road trips. Like I drove this road trip around with my father around all the great, not all of them, but a lot of the national parks of the United States. And it was great to stop and take pictures. And, that wasn't something we could do as easily if we went by plane. And we went to go see Grand Canyon. We went to see Bryce Canyon, Mesa Verde, Rocky Mountain National Park, all these beautiful places. And then we were able to stop at all these other small places, like you're saying, take pictures along the way that we wouldn't have if we went. But to get there, I flew first from Boston to Denver. That was like 3 hours flight from Boston to Denver. Now, granted, driving, I would have been able to stop along the way and take a lot of pictures, but I didn't have a lot of vacation time, so it made sense for me to fly from Boston to Denver and then with my father drive for like a week and a half around. We went like almost in a square around these 4 states and saw like, I don't know, 5 or 6 national parks, and it was very beautiful. So thank you so much. I thought your name is Julio. I thought your name was Julius. It's Julio?
Yeah. So my Spanish name is Julio, but in English, it's Julius.
Oh, Julius. Oh, okay. Because I know that our other Julio was like, oh, it's going to be confusing. And I said, you don't have the same name, but you do have the same name.
Oh, yeah. So listen, guys, this is the first time that I, know in reality to Fatima and Luzmeli.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet with you. This is first time also
Yeah.
I meet with you.
It's nice to meet you, Julio.
Thank you so much to let me be here, to take part of this meeting, of this conversation, in order to improve my listening skills. And by the way, you all have really nice pronunciation. You speak like a true American. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you for your compliment. By the way, you were talking about that there is no comparison between plane or a car, because if you go by car, then you can enjoy a lot of things. But if you go by plane, then you can enjoy nothing. So in this case, I would like to add one more thing, is that if you go by private car, then you can enjoy a lot of things. But in this case, if you use public transportation, then you can't enjoy anything because public transportation, you cannot stop anywhere because a lot of people are using this transportation. So according driver instructions, you have to go and you have to stop in last moment where you want to go. Otherwise, you cannot stop yourself, your decision. So that is why I will suggest to everyone that if they want to go to travel and they want to enjoy their traveling, they should go by private car rather than public transportation. And by plane, definitely they can go, but they won't enjoy much. Just they can save their time.
I want to, that's a very good point. I do want to share a couple pictures that I took from the plane when I was on my last trip. Well, this was not my last trip. This was 2 years ago. And these are some pictures I took from the window. I said that I like to sit by the window. I do have some pictures from the Grand Canyon, which we flew over the Grand Canyon, which is down here. But they're not showing up right now in my search, but I took these beautiful pictures from the window. And so while you're right, there's not as many, I can't stop the plane and look around, but right here, this is Boston. You can see Boston there. So I think that you don't see this from the car, of course. So just wanted to share. And I have other ones too, but I can't find them right now, that I actually, when I flew back, I saw the Grand Canyon. Now, I have been to the Grand Canyon in that road trip that I talked about, but the last time that I was flying for work and I was in San Francisco, I got to have a window seat. I told a story earlier that it cost $30 more, and my boss was not too happy about that, but I got the window seat, and it was worth it, because I got these beautiful pictures of the Grand Canyon, and it was just so beautiful. And then I got the sun setting, and it was really beautiful. So just wanted to share that. So while I couldn't stop the plane and say, let's go stop at Grand Canyon, I could see it.
Different transportation has a different enjoyment, that you can enjoy different things. So definitely we should enjoy everything once in our life.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, like, you're in Bangladesh, and the only like reasonable way to get to the U.S. would be by plane.
Yes.
Like in the old days, right? You could have took a boat, but it's not likely that you're going to take a boat to the U.S. And I want to go to Spain to visit Isabel, and I'm going by plane. So when we get there, we'll probably drive, and we'll probably take trains, which I have traveled. Also, Julio, I was talking earlier that I have traveled by train around the U.S., and it is beautiful. You can look out the window and get a lot more views than you would otherwise, but it takes way longer. So it depends on your I think it depends on your schedule. If you got time, like I wouldn't mind if I had time to travel across the country by train. Also, if I had more money and I could get one of those sleeper cars, because it was a little uncomfortable. So, but I wouldn't mind to travel across the US by train and see all the beautiful views that you can see that way.
And also, if you go to Spain, Russia, you can take the train around the Europe. I would like to go to Europe and take the train around Europe. I think, wow, it could be so great, and maybe I could enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, well, let's save our money. Maybe someday both of us will go visit Isabel. So, yeah, so lots of different ways for traveling and different things. Like if anybody has any stories, like that trip I had from San Francisco, I got stuck. Okay, my plane was supposed to leave. I was supposed to leave at 2:00, so I had to leave the hotel at 12. And what happened is that I was going to travel across the country back to Boston. But in Boston, there was a bunch of thunderstorms, like really bad thunderstorms. That's one thing. Planes can fly through lots of things. They can fly through snowstorms, they can fly through, but they do not fly through thunderstorms. It's just way too dangerous. And so the flight got delayed. And at first it said it was going to be delayed and we were going to have the flight at 4:00. And then it said 5:00. And then it got 6:00. And San Francisco is 3 hours behind. So when I was going to fly back, when I finally got on that flight at 9 p.m., I was going to be landing at like 4 a.m. in Boston. And so I had bought myself, I think I bought myself one of those pillows, and I actually bought like this, something to help me sleep. I couldn't sleep on the plane. And I landed in Boston at like 3 or 4 a.m. and nothing was open. And I was too tired. I had driven to the airport. I was too tired to drive. So I actually, I saw they had cots. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of that. They had actually cots out for people that got stuck at the airport. So I ended up just putting my stuff down. And in fact, I do have a picture of this. Let me just show you. So there was this cot there at the airport, and I put my stuff down, and I fell asleep on the cot for like 3 hours before I went to my car and drove back to my house. Because I was just too tired. I didn't sleep. I had been up since the night before. So just like one story about, getting stuck at the airport. I wonder if anybody else has any stories of, mishaps when you traveled somewhere.
Yes. I want to tell you one story that when I was 14 years old, that moment I went to a picnic with my teachers. It was from my school picnic. So that picnic was very terrible picnic in my life, because when we started our picnic at 7 a.m. So we it's that we want to go there within 4 hours, but the problem is that we didn't go on time because of an accident. There was an awful accident happened between our bus, between two bus, with our bus and another bus. So we were very young at that moment, so we were very scared. We were shouting that what happened and why we are in this trouble. Our teachers say that stay calm, nothing happened bad, just some little bit accident happened, so everything will be okay, don't worry about it. But our teacher were injured for this accident. So seeing the blood, we were very scared. Though the blood was not much, but it was very awful moment for all of us that our teachers had bleedings, and he is like very weak that moment. So but by the grace of Almighty, that moment we were all safe because we are sitting the back side of bus, not front side of bus. So he was sitting front side. There's the problem that the glass burst and they all are coming in his head, and that's why he is bleeding. But there we stuck 2 hours, and then we went to hospital after his treatments. Again, we said that we don't need to go picnic, we should return home because already a terrible accident happened with us. We can't enjoy going there. So our teacher said that no, it cannot happen. We came here to enjoy, and we will do it. The injured teacher saying that. We were very shocked, and we got lot of energy by his speech, that though he is injured, but he is giving us a lot of confidence after his accident. So definitely we should support him, and we should go there, we should enjoy there to make him happy. So
That's an awesome teacher. An awesome teacher
yeah.
that you had. That.
Yeah, he's very good teachers, and he always think about student. So that is why we together decided that definitely we'll go there, and we support our teachers to make him happy. And after 3 hours later, so almost there we need to go 2 hours, but it takes 5 hours for this terrible situation. So then we went there, we did a lot of fun together, we took a lot of pictures, and then we ate a lot of street foods, a lot of foods that we bring with us. So bring there with us. So that was the amazing journey that I did in my life, which was 2014.
Oh wow! Wow.
Yeah, just 2014.
Anyone else that has stories of like?
So the story was terrible, but it was also enjoyable and memorable.
Yeah, it sounds like definitely a memorable story.
Something like that happens when you travel by car or by bus, because you know in the road can happen many things. And I have a sister-in-law that was travel from Venezuela to Peru. So unfortunately, she had an accident. The bus turned around, and so he has a terrible injuries. It was in Ecuador, and so she had to spend 2 months in hospital. It was terrible because she was alone, and she had I think 2 operations. So it was really hard, and now she's scared to travel by bus, really scared, because it was a terrible experience.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was in middle school, we have a trip in middle school, which is about 13, 14 years old, and we go to Washington, D.C., and we go by bus. And I went with my best friend, and we had a great time. We went to go see, it's 9-hour drive by bus, and we stop along the way a couple times. And we had a great time. We went to go see all of the things in New York City, all of the monuments and the museums. We didn't get to see the White House, but we got to see like the Capitol building. So when my son was going to be in middle school, I wanted him to do this trip because I had a great time with my best friend. So I made sure that I got him signed up for that trip, but he didn't have the same good time as I did. It was not summer, but it was hot. It was springtime. And the buses that we send to to Washington, D.C. are nicer buses with air conditioning. But his bus, the air conditioning broke. And in addition, some of the kids on the bus got in trouble, so they weren't allowed to go see some of the monuments. So it was really, really hot, and I was going through, he's now 18, he went on this trip when he was 14, and he wrote this paper about the trip and how he hated that trip, and I was so sad to hear that, because it was myself, my best friend, and we had the best time on that trip, but because of like the bus, probably the kids might have misbehaved more because the bus was so hot. I don't really know, but it was just not a good trip. So again, like sometimes like going by bus, you can see a lot of things and you can have a great experience, but if things go wrong, it can make it for a horrible trip, actually. I want to share from our other Julio that's in our group, Julio from Bolivia. He says, when I traveled to Japan from Bolivia, it took me almost 3 days to get there. What was the longest travel you did, and how much time did it take you to get there? Does anybody want to answer that?
No, I don't travel 2 days or 3 days like that. I
Me
just
neither.
travel. I just travel 5 hours or 6 hours, because already I said that I didn't travel by plane, that it will take 2 days or 3 days. If I go to America, then I think it will take 2 days. Otherwise, if I go to Saudi Arab, then it will take one day. But I don't have any story about like this.
My longest trip would be Finland, which was probably a total of 8 hours. I think it was 6 hours to London, which I only was at the airport, so I don't really know that counts as going to England, but I was at the airport in London. And then I changed planes and went to Finland, so that was a total of 8 hours. That was my longest trip anywhere.
Well, my longest travel was when I went to Colombia, Medellin. It took for me 2 days to get to Colombia and 2 days to return to Venezuela. It was my longest travel. And well, during the trip, it was tired, but I enjoy the view, and I enjoy landscapes and some towns in Colombia. So it wasn't too bad.
Okay. So, Lusmeli, how did you go there?
Well, I went by bus, and it was a quickly travel, because it wasn't for pleasure. I had to do something there, so I just got to Medellin, and I spent only 1 day there in Medellin, and then I returned the next day. So wow, it was so tired.
I bet. That does sound super tiring.
Yeah, tired.
Yeah.
Did anyone drive? I know, Julio, you said you have driven places. Do you have stories about driving to places for travel?
Yes, teacher. I go to many places, by traveling a car. But listen, all my ending travels, my travels ending in a sad story laugh, That's my problem. Every place where I go, I meet a nice girl, and I, flirt with her, and I tell her, hey, Mariah, listen, I'm going to come back for you, so wait for me. So, in my case, I was driving to the jungle, in Peru, we got a jungle. It's a nice place, everywhere is green. You know what I mean? Green. It's awesome to be in jungle.
So why Did you go there, Julia, in jungle just for visiting or
Hey
some
guys, listen, I gotta work right now.
That's
Oh,
Talk to you later.
okay. Thank you
Bye-bye,
for
I'm sorry.
joining, Julio.
okay. Bye bye.
It's a pleasure.
I think he must work in tourism because he's got something that says tourism there
Yeah, like
on
that.
his jacket.
that
So
is why you went to jungle.
maybe he's got a client to show some place in Peru too, because I saw that tourism thing.
Yeah, maybe. So, Lusmilo and Rishal, maybe you drive your car your own self. But Lusmilo, do you know how to drive?
No.
Okay, no problem. I also
Sorry.
don't know.
I
But
send
maybe-
one.
By the way, do you
I have to
riding?
look.
Do you know riding?
Sorry.
Bicycle riding, you mean?
Yes, yes. Bicycle riding.
By bicycle? Montar el biciclete?
Bicicleta. Montar bicicleta. Ride a bike.
Yeah.
Oh, you can. I also can.
Yeah, I can too. I like it, but at not going long distance. My son has ridden like over 50 miles before. But for me, 3 miles is as much as I have done up to 10 miles, but I have family that have ridden across the country on bicycle, not all at once, but they would like ride maybe 50, 75 miles or something like that. Then they stop and they camp or they stay at a hotel, and then they would ride more and they would go all across the whole US. They went from San Francisco to Boston. I don't know how long it took them, but it might have been a month or something of doing that. But my son likes to go for bike rides. He goes for bike rides for like up to 50 miles. So for me, I like bike riding, but I get sore like sitting on the bike. So more than 3 miles that's it for me.
Okay. So is this famous in your country by bike riding?
I think for here, it's a very popular thing. Like my son he's at college and he's in a bicycle club. So they go for bike rides. And they've got a lot of trails here, bike trails. There are bike clubs that even if you're not in college, you can join bike clubs, and there's bike races. So it's a fairly popular thing to go on bicycle rides. Of course, you have to be careful of cars. My father he bike rides all the time, and he's actually got hit by cars a couple times. He's okay. But, he got, one time it wasn't so much he got hit by a car, but he was riding and he was riding this trip that he goes on every year, and it's like 90 miles, and it was really hot. And so here in the US, when you're riding the bike, you're supposed to go in the same way that the cars go, not on the opposite side. But it was really hot, so he was on the other side because it was shady, like there was trees. And there was a car coming, and the reason why they want you on the same side, I think, is that way the cars can see you better. So the car almost hit him. The car didn't hit him, but instead he swerved out of the way to get out of the way of the car. But when he swerved, he toppled over and he broke his neck. He's okay now, but he broke his neck, and then he had to have like a neck brace for I think it was like 6 to 8 weeks. But the next summer, he was on that bike again, riding back that 90-mile bike ride. So
Yeah, it's really risky that if you use bike in busy place where car is going on, so in this case you can injure by the big car. So here in one story that I would like to share, that last year my father hit by car. He was riding by a bike, and suddenly a car hit him. So he was in terrible situation. He is in hospital, about 5 months, even 3 months he was in ICU. So hope you understand that he was in bad situation totally. But after that, he hit it in the car, hit it in his head. So that is why he was in trouble. So
Did he
all
have a
I
helmet on? Helmet? Was he wearing a helmet?
yeah, no, he wasn't.
Oh,
wearing
here
helmet.
most people wear helmets
That's
for
the
that
problem.
reason.
That was the problem, that he didn't wear a helmet.
Yeah. Yeah, my son and my father always wear the helmets, especially when you're on the road with the cars. Like if you're on a bike trail, then there's not as much of a danger. But when you're on the roads with cars, like that, those are big 3,000-pound vehicles that are going to hit you. It's very important to have a helmet on. Julio from our group from Bolivia, he says, what is the funniest way to travel, or what is your favorite way to do it? I don't know if anybody has a funniest way to travel.
Funniest way
I
to
think
travel.
by car. You have your own car. You can stop wherever you want and take picture and enjoy. And you can do whatever you want. I think it's never a problem. But if, of course, if you are traveling in your own country, no? And maybe if you go to another country, you have to know and to be sure that the place is safe to travel by car. It depends on the country.
Okay, and then it's a Gaurav, and he's saying wearing a helmet is a good idea, I believe. So yes, wearing a helmet when you're bike riding is a good idea. So I think we'll go for 5 more minutes, maybe if anyone has any last stories to tell.
Funny story that definitely whenever we are traveling with our friends and family, that moment it will be funny travel for all of us, no matter where you are going, with which transportation you are using. But definitely you'll enjoy if you go with your friends.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
experience a lot of fun. So
Absolutely.
I have a lot of fun story that I did with my friends, and definitely we enjoy a lot by doing a lot of funny things while our traveling time. Anyway, let it go, because everyone life has this kind of funny story, and every day we are this kind of things are happenings. And if you are younger, if you have younger story, then you can remind and you can remember those kind of story a lot. So you say that 5 minutes left. Anyway, nice to talk with all of you. It was really nice conversation about traveling that we did together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was great, and we'll pick another topic next time. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll be in contact in our group for sure, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Fatima, thank you
All
for
right.
inviting me to this meeting. It's
Absolutely.
good. Had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. I did too. I'm going to say goodbye to the people on the internet and end that. Goodbye, people on the internet.